All right. College basketball, right? Good stuff. Starts in quick math, 9 days, 10 days, depending on what you want to count.
Great intro.
Yeah, really good, really good. We're a little late, but that's all right. No worries. I don't think anybody's actually going to watch this or has been looking forward to it, so I'm not too concerned about any of that. But we kind of just do the. I like where we're at in terms of the fact that we do the national championship show, and then you don't see us again until now. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good way to keep doing it, especially since you won't see us again doing this. We're talking about the entire country until February, probably. So that'll be exciting. Maybe January. I think we did a midseason thing a couple years ago. But college hoops about to be back. Another one of those off seasons where player movement is very high. I think the freshmen coming in pretty underwhelming, I think, for the most part, especially since a lot of the top guys are really going to like Duke, and that's like it pretty much, in Arkansas. So we'll start this show with the rankings. I mean, you got to think about a couple of these. The AP Top 25 poll, nothing stood out to me other than the fact that I think there's a lot of teams that are being ranked highly due to name brand, which I think is always the case for the most part. I think there's one team on here that especially, like Duke at 7 is insane, but that's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine.
Wow, you don't have any faith in John Shire changing the program?
I mean, it's more of a I don't see that roster as being that good right away type thing. I think it's closer to, I think they're very talented, probably not as talented as last season, but I also think that they're going to probably be a little bit closer to where they were 2 years ago when they missed the tournament in terms of how they start the season, which is slowly, especially with the injury to that freshman whose name I can't remember, Dariq Whitehead. Is that who that is? I don't know. Sure. But other than that, nothing too, controversial from the top 25. I think they did a good job in terms of not overrating some of the power conference schools in the Big Ten. I think they did a good job with that. But yeah, I mean, it's not anything surprising to me. I think Texas at 12 is a little bit out there. I think if Chris Beard wasn't their coach, I would have a lot less faith in them.
True.
And then I guess we'll look at Rothstein real quick here. One thing that I like that Rothstein did was he has Creighton 3, which I think is great because I think Creighton's roster is really, really good, like one of the best in the country. Because you're getting Nembhard back. Trey Alexander was really good last year. Baylor Shireman was an elite scorer at South Dakota State. So you got that going. Plus Kaluma back and Kalkbrenner. So that's a really good roster. And I think that they're probably going to be one of the best offensive teams in the country. So I think I agree with Rothstein going 3. But then other stuff that Rothstein does, I mean, he's buying into Duke being that high. Don't love it. I think Duke's, you can rank him top 25. That's fine. But top 10 just seems like too much for me. Especially, I know that Kansas has a lot of unknowns this season given what they lost last year. But they should be higher rated than Duke. And a lot of people aren't doing that. So I don't know.
AP did that by a whole 1. So
Rothstein did it by 2. I don't know what these guys are doing.
What are you drinking there?
I don't even know. Kansas did lose to Illinois in the secret scrimmage. You got to think about that. I mean, most people
nobody knows that. Would they lose in the first 10-minute half or the second 10-minute half?
Trust me, Illinois won. Trust me. Now, one thing that he did was Rothstein is not high in the Big Ten. He's got Michigan 26. That's Indiana 13. He's got Ohio State 34, Michigan State 35, Illinois 38, which is just insane to me. Call us biased all you want, but that is just insane.
I mean, I don't think anybody's very high on the Big Ten. They haven't proven themselves in the tournament. Yeah,
Norlander's. I mean, he's got Illinois at 9.
I think that you have those outliers where they're like, on paper, this Illinois team's really good, but you don't know until you see them. So, and like you look at Indiana, on paper, this team should be good because they have all these returning players that went 9 and 12 in the Big Ten last year or whatever they went. So I think there's just a lot of unknowns in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten hasn't been able to prove themselves in the tournament besides Michigan, who has been to 3, 4 Sweet 16s in a row. So I think there's just a lot of unknowns in the Big Ten overall. And I don't blame anybody for I don't know if I'd put any Big Ten team in the top 25.
I think the Big Ten is going to stink compared to what we've seen in the regular season. I think the Big Ten, and I'll have a 2,800 word preview coming out on Monday. At the Big
you
Ten.
added 100 words from last night?
I think I gave you 2,700, but then I think it was actually 28.
Okay.
So
Right,
if we're being fair about that, but I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be one of those years where, similar to the ACC last season, the regular season was really bad, and then they get Duke and North Carolina in the Final Four. They get North Carolina in the national championship game, and North Carolina probably should have won the game, the title game. I mean, they blew that lead. And obviously Kansas's big players showed up when they needed to last season. But yeah, I don't think the Big Ten is going to be – I still think it's probably like, a 7-bid league, maybe 8. But I don't think there's going to be any of those real high-end teams. I think Illinois probably has the highest ceiling out of anybody just because their roster is so talented. And obviously they're going to allow Underwood to coach a lot more this season. I think Indiana and Michigan, they will be good. I don't know how good. They're pretty much – a lot of what they're basing off of is the fact their best player from last season is back. The same can't be said for most of the teams in the Big Ten, whether it's Keegan Murray or Jaden Ivey or Kofi or, some of those other players out there. But, yeah, I don't think the Big Ten is going to be good, and I think that'll be reflected in the regular season. I think the team that wins the Big Ten, just because there's not a huge separation between most teams, I think the team that wins the conference in the regular season wins, 13, maybe 14 games? Maybe 12. I mean, it's going to be a lot of clutter in the middle, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I talked to a guy today. He thinks that Illinois can only have a 6-loss season. So
in the entire season or the Big Ten?
Whole season.
Well, that's insane, but that's all right.
Yeah. Anyways, enough about the Big Ten. This is all of college.
It is. Yeah. Let's look at my top 25, which is the one where I'll actually read everything.
Really matters. Yeah.
Well, also real quick on the Almanac, very controversial deal. They have Houston number 1. By the way, they have Kansas ahead of Duke, so they have that going. They have Arkansas 9. San Diego State, who I know you don't love for some reason, which I think is an insane thing. We'll get to that. They're 13. They got Indiana at 20, Illinois 21, no Michigan. They got TCU at 16. I'm very high on TCU this season. They have Auburn in there, which I don't love.
Why are people high on TCU?
We'll get to it.
They made a run in the tournament? Who cares?
No, there's more to it. There's more to it. They got UConn 22. That's because Doster's a UConn guy. That's why they're there. Dayton in there. That's good. Good for them. And all right, yeah. Here we go. My rankings, the ones that really matter.
Ones that matter.
Top 5. Number 5, Baylor. Number 4, Creighton. Number 3, North Carolina. 2, Gonzaga. 1, Houston. Suck on that. 10 through 6. Number 10, Texas. Number 9, San Diego State.
Weren't you just complaining about Texas being 12?
Well,
and then you put them 10.
It's Chris Beard, man. That's why I'm doing this. And I really, really like Tyrese Hunter. I don't think the people that are ranking Texas that I have the same reasons that I do. I digress. Because everyone's like, oh, Marcus Carr. No, it's not because of Marcus Carr. 8, UCLA. 7, Arkansas. 6, Kansas. Now I'll just go 25 through 11. 25, Virginia. 24, Dayton. 23, Xavier, who I know you're not high on, which disagree once again. We'll get there. 22, UConn. 21, Michigan. 20, Illinois. 19, Oregon. 18, Texas Tech. 17, Alabama. 16, Indiana. 15, Arizona. 14, Duke. I have Duke a lot worse than others. Point that out. Everybody has Duke top 10. I'll say 14, and that's generous. 13, TCU. 12, Villanova. 11, Tennessee. So my last few
I feel like you have Villanova kind of high, but
well, Jay Wright is gone, so I did take that into account, and they need to get a little bit healthy, so that's going to be a problem. But at the end of the day, I think that they're a team. Everybody uses the word culture a lot, and they have one, right? So there you go.
But didn't they lose their culture maker when Jay Wright left?
Yeah, but I think it's important that they got somebody that was working with him, or think about this. And I think Laval Jordan, who got fired at Butler, who said this the other night, I think, on a show. Greg Gard was under Bo Ryan, came in, has done a good job. There's a lot of cases where if the coach is working under, they can usually keep it going. Hubert Davis had a couple years with Roy Williams, So I'm just going to bank on that with Villanova, and especially given the success that Villanova's had under Jay Wright, I think Neptune's a good coach, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I know they lost a lot of players too, but there's still some guys there that you can win with, and I'm gonna go with that. So, all right, let's get into all the other stuff where you come into play here.
I'm always in play. What are you talking about?
Well, I've pretty much been talking 98% of the start. All right, players to watch per conference. I kind of just handed you the mantle on this one. I picked like a couple per conference, but I didn't go too insane with the stats and stuff. I know that you.
I didn't go super crazy.
More than me though.
But I did a play like a seasoned player or somebody that's coming back, and then I did a freshman for most of these. So,
all right, the ACC. Who you got?
I mean Armando Bacot, from North Carolina. I believe he was named preseason player of the year by some, at least for the ACC, right? And he averaged 16.3, 13 rebounds, 1.5 assists. He shot 57% from the field. I'm excited to see him develop and become a better inside player. So that's who I got. And then I also have Derek Lively II from Duke. He's considered number one in the class of 22 by a lot of people. 7'1", 220 pounds. So although Duke might not be very good in your eyes, they got the number one freshman coming in. So excited to see that. You always want to see the good kids go to college instead of straight to the NBA.
That's right. I'm going with Jalen Warley from Florida State. Big breakout candidate. A lot of people think he'll be the breakout player of the year in the conference.
Never heard of him.
I don't know what – well, that's fair. I don't know what Florida State's going to be. But he finished the season strong last year, had a couple big games, 6'6" wing. They're going to be without one of their best freshmen, Baba Miller, who just got suspended 16 games for BS, if you ask me. NIL stuff where he got money to come from a different country to the U.S. and
isn't the NCAA getting sued over this NIL stuff now?
The NCAA is embarrassing themselves. And then I went Jaden Gardner from Virginia. I think Virginia is going to be good. They need 14-year senior Kihei Clark to be good, and they need Jaden Gardner as well. He's a transfer from East Carolina. This is his second season at Virginia, 15.6 rebounds last season. I think Virginia's got a very good chance to maybe not win the conference, but I think they have a good chance to be second. I think they're going to be a little bit back to normalcy from where they've been the last couple of years. So, all right, Big Ten.
I got Hunter Dickinson down from Michigan, although, some people might hate him. Others really like him and his personality, what he brings to the court and his back talk, I'm okay with. But last year, he had a pretty good season. What he really worked on was his shooting from outside. I don't even think he took a three in his freshman season. And then last year he shot around 33%. He averaged almost 19 points a game, almost 9 rebounds, 2.5 assists. So I think that in a league, the Big Ten, that is known for big men, I think that Hunter Dickinson is going to be the big man. He's way better than Edey. I feel like he can play the post a lot better than TJD. So I'm excited to see Hunter Dickinson this year. I hope he sucks against Illinois, though. So, and then my freshman, I picked Sky Clark. Totally unbiased here. Of the Fighting Illini. He decommitted from Kentucky. As most people know, he did get an ACL injury his senior year of high school. And he said to, I believe, Derek Piper or somebody from the Illinois beat writers, that he said, quote, "I'm starting to feel like my old self again." They say in that Kansas scrimmage that you could tell he had his burst back. He was quick. And at one time, Sky Clark was 10th nationally before falling after the ACL injury. So really excited to see him play and what he can help, being probably going to be the point guard starting as a freshman for an Illinois team that is just full of new people. So I don't know if Illinois is really going to use a point guard that much, but he will be the point guard. So.
Well, you talk about the Big Ten being a league of bigs. I'm going to go with one that I think is going to have a very good season. Maybe I think he could have a season where
Zach
he's.
Edey, I'm going to find a way to come through here and smack you because all you do is talk him.
I'm going with Cliff Omori.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Yeah.
I love that.
Legit center. I think he's a guy that could average somewhere in the neighborhood. If Rutgers is good, like 16 and 12, 18 and 13. I think if Rutgers is going to have success, and I think Rutgers is always underrated going into the season. And the big factor this year, you can do it because Geo Baker's gone and Ron Harper Jr. is gone. But McConnell's back. Yeah. Brad Davison Jr. is back. With Mulcahy, of course, and Cliff is back. There's some young talent there. And Pikel is a really good coach. I think they'll be better defensively this year than they were last year. Offense is going to be an issue because I don't really see anybody that's a huge offensive threat other than Cliff in the paint. I'm just going to keep calling him Cliff because his last name is just impossible.
Yeah, you can't say it. It's impossible.
It is literally impossible. And then I'm going to go – just going to throw this out there and throw Chris Murray out there and say, will he actually break out?
Wow.
Just people,
because you're saying that to disrespect him, correct?
Well, I'm saying this to say people need to watch because they're going to realize that he's not his brother. I think would be my thoughts.
That's fair.
So
his brother getting his first start or got his first start. Good for him.
I don't even know who he
Kings
plays
are
for.
Trash, right?
Oh yeah. They're
they
one
might
of those
win 12 games. I hear. So
they're one of those franchises that is going to be terrible forever. So. There you go. Big 12.
Big 12. I picked a guy you talked about earlier, Marcus Carr. Not because I think he's the guy that has to carry Texas, but because when he was at Minnesota, he was averaging like 20 a game. He transferred to Texas last year. He's in like his 8th season, I think, of college now that, the COVID year, everybody can play for 42 years or whatever it is. But he only averaged 11 and a half last year. So I want to see if Marcus Carr, who is a heck of a playmaker, but when he was at Minnesota, he was the only one. Texas, I haven't looked into their team a ton, but I know Courtney Ramey is gone, right? He transferred. So I think Marcus Carr is gonna have to be more of a playmaker than he was last year, and he's fun to watch. I like watching him. He's a great shooter. He can score off the dribble. So I'm excited to see Marcus Carr this year to see if he can get back to what he was at Minnesota. The other guy I got is Keontae George of Baylor. He was number 9 nationally, 6'4", 185 pounds. He can score at all 3 levels. But we'll see how he fits in being a guard because Baylor has some good guards still with Flagler and Cryer. But, Baylor loves that 3-guard lineup. So Keontae George, get in there and see how that works out for him. So
I'm going to go with Mike Miles, the team leader for TCU, 15 points per game last season.
Is that the big guy?
I think TCU has expectations. My headphones just stopped working, so I'm just going to keep talking without being able to hear anything.
He knows that.
I think TCU, so you're going to learn why I think they're good. I'm going to switch to my actual headphones. But, TCU, a nice team. I think that they're going to be a team that people have expectations of being good. I'm not sure how good they'll actually be. I think the Big 12 is probably the best conference in the country. I think my other pick is going to be the other guard at Texas, the guard that I think is going to be the premier guard, Tyrese Hunter. Just an incredible season at Iowa State last season. And one of those guys that you hate to see transfer because Iowa State's not one of those programs that's going to be getting the huge talents every year. And they go on a run in the postseason last year with Otzelberger's first year there. And Tyrese Hunter is just such a huge talent. I don't know how him and Carr are going to fit together. I think it's two really, really good players, but I also think they're both ball dominant players, especially Carr. But I think Tyrese Hunter is the better of the two. So I think that'll be interesting to see how Chris Beard handles that. And I trust that backcourt to be successful a lot more because Beard is the coach. So we'll see. Big East.
Big East, I picked Jared Bynum of Providence. Providence, of course, won the Big East regular season title, had a Sweet 16 run. Can they do it again? I don't know. But I think that Jared Bynum is going to be a big part of that. Averaged 12 points per game and 4 assists last year. The freshman that I am going to pick, probably not a freshman that a lot of people would in the Big East, but I'm going to go with AJ Storr. He was a kid that Illinois was heavily after. So yeah, home bias, whatever. He's at St. John, so he's with Curbelo, another Illinois guy. But he was getting recruited hard by Kansas and LSU. And I think that St. John's is going to have a very up-tempo offense. They could have 20 turnovers a game. I'm not really sure. They might. But I think him and Curbelo, running, I think it's going to be fun to watch. So I just want to see how this kid does. He wasn't highly ranked, but he was highly recruited, 94 nationally. So I think that St. John's pace of play with Curbelo and a lot of guys that like to run, I think that he can succeed there. So
I'm going to go with Adama Sonogo from UConn as my first player. I think he wins Conference Player of the Year if he has a season where he's healthy and is producing. Probably the best center in the conference. Kind of like a Kofi Light is how I would look at him and compare him to others. And then I'm going to go with Ryan Nimhard from Creighton, who I think if Creighton's going to be as good as I think they'll be, it's going to run through him. He was really, really good as a freshman last year, got hurt towards the end of the season. But he's really, really talented, really good player. And I also think that this Creighton roster is maybe their most talented of all time, just because there's so much.
It's Creighton.
Yeah, well, they had a couple good teams with Greg's son. But yeah, there you go. Pac-12.
I picked Boogie Ellis of USC. He averaged 12.5 points a game, 2.5 assists. And his name's Boogie, so I had to pick him.
Yep.
The freshman I picked was Kalel, right? Ware of Oregon. Your team, go Ducks. He was 10th nationally, 7 foot tall, 210 pounds. And I pulled this from Brandon Jenkins on 247. Shout out to that guy that goes out and scouts all these people or watches videos or whatever he does. He said, quote, he shows great hands with a nice touch out to the arc. These 7-footers that can shoot threes, it's getting a little ridiculous. He's a fluid player for his size and runs the floor with a smooth gait. Gait. I don't know what that means, but it's a good word. So I'm interested to see how Dana Altman, the Rubik's Cuber, gets this kid going. At 7 foot, probably shoots it from half court all the time.
And they also have Will Richardson in his 20th season at Oregon. So they got that rolling there. Yeah, so big time Altman, big season coming for him probably. But maybe not. We don't know. I'm going to go Drew Peterson, USC, shoots the ball well. There you go. That's what he's going to do. And then I'm going to go with Jaime Jaquez, who is the best player in the conference. I don't care what anybody says. Jaquez is the best player in the conference. Juzang's gone. UCLA, that was almost a big mistake, probably has the best team in this conference by a mile, I think, especially with that starting five because you bring Tiger Campbell back. You have Jaquez there still. And then you have some freshman talent coming in like Amari Bailey, I think could be really, really good. And then Jalen Clark, and then Adem Bona, who I think is another freshman talent. Yes, he is. And our guy, Mac Etienne there as well. So
go spit on somebody. What did you think of Altman's comments on USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten?
I don't think he's wrong. I mean, neither of those programs has been that great. I mean, they've been good the last few years, but they haven't really done anything sustained. I mean, Arizona and Oregon are the big programs that have had deep runs or had a lot of success.
Yeah, I did see somebody commented and said that it was funny that he said, since I've been here or whatever. But if you go back like 10 more years, UCLA has won like 2 titles or something. I don't
Well,
know.
also, how long is Oregon going to be in the Pac-12? So that's kind of the other thing. I don't think Oregon's. I think Oregon.
You're telling
could be
me
in the
that
Big
Oregon,
Ten.
when it came to the Big Ten,
I think they
if
eventually
went to
could.
them, yeah. So
I don't know.
anyways,
I'll defend Altman at all costs. So obviously,
I know you will.
SEC.
I picked Oscar Tshiebwe. You guys might have heard of this guy. He was National Player of the Year last year. Got slighted by the media this year because they give it to Drew Timme, the stash from Spokane, where they live. Where's Gonzaga?
Yeah, Tshiebwe. The last season ended badly for them. It wasn't his fault. He had a good game, but last season ended badly.
Yeah, you can't lose to St. Peter's and.
Well, there's a lot of victims of that program. Purdue might be the most embarrassing one since they were like a last dance type team, except without the success before.
But he's coming off minor knee surgery. He says that he'll be back for the first game.
Who do they open up with?
I don't know if they'll push him to come back because I don't know if it matters that much. But
I mean,
17.4 points per game, 15.1 rebounds per game. 15.
That'll
Insane.
work.
Insane. So yeah, I mean, I just want to see if Tshiebwe can improve those stats. I mean,
if he's healthy,
insane.
If he's healthy and you're Calipari, I think they play Howard. I don't think you play him in that game.
Yeah, there's no shot.
But then they play Duquesne. I think you play him a little bit, and then you play Michigan State. So I think you got to get him some minutes before Michigan State, you would think.
Yeah.
And then the rest, I mean, they have a very, very
Kentucky's going to have a problem with Michigan State.
Well, props to Calipari, though. I mean, they're actually getting a hard knock. Like, they play Gonzaga. They play Michigan. They play UCLA. Well, I know that some coaches like to, give themselves a lot of wins. Like, typically that's like something that Fran McCaffrey does. I know they played Gonzaga a couple years ago, but they like to play some really bad games.
You talk about Kentucky, Michigan State, their schedule right off
really hard.
That is insane. Like Izzo said, we might start off 1-6 or something.
Gonzaga, Kentucky, all in a row. Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, Alabama, Notre Dame's not bad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Insane. So my freshman that I picked from the SEC, Arkansas has like 12 5-stars. So I just picked one of them. But I didn't go with the guy everybody else. I think Nick Smith Jr. is probably the guy that everybody picks. But I went with Anthony Black. He's one of the 5-stars. He was, I have number 3 nationally, but I don't think that's right. 18th nationally. Sorry, Nick Smith was number 3 nationally. Sorry, just looking at my notes here. But I saw some of the highlights in their exhibition game against Roger State or whoever it was. But this kid's 6'7", and it looks like he can jump out of the gym. So I'm excited to watch him play. And he has spectacular hair. So
that is true. I mean, Nick Smith is my first pick from Arkansas. I mean, he could be legitimate SEC all-first team this year. I think you look at the only spots that are kind of spoken for right now is the Tshiebwe spot. But, I mean, he is as legit as they come. And that's why the Arkansas thing –
You tell me they're not just going to pick 5 centers to be on the –
that is not something – they're going to pick at least 2, you would think. Colin Castleton will probably be there too. But, I think Arkansas – there's a few teams in the country that have, like, super high ceilings. I think Arkansas is one of those teams. I think Illinois is one of those teams, like we said earlier. There's a few teams that have that. It's mainly because it's a really talented roster, and it's a roster that hasn't played together a lot, but they're well coached, and other factors as well. And then my other pick is Zakai Ziegler from Tennessee, who showed a lot last season. Really, really good defensively, undersized guard, a lot of energy. The big factor with him is how is he going to react to playing a bit of a bigger role since he was behind Kennedy Chandler in a lot of spots last season. But I think he's got a great chance to break out and, could be a defensive player of the year type for them. And I think that I would pick him if I had to pick somebody. One thing that I found interesting from the Almanac and the SEC, the coaches poll, where they polled the coaches on who's, blah, 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 right? They said coaches think the breakout player is Ziegler. They think the player who scares you the most is Sheboy. They say the best pro prospect is Nick Smith. They say the best X's and O's coach is Jerry Stackhouse. In a league with Eric Musselman, Calipari, Bruce Pearl, Rick Barnes.
Weren't you starting hashtag Fire Stackhouse last year?
Stackhouse probably blocked me on Twitter, I think. So, I get that the coaches voted for that, but the best X's and O's coach is the team that's picked to finish 14th out of 14 in the conference.
Yikes.
I don't understand that at all. The only thing that he's done well there is he's gotten a couple of talented players here and there. They haven't won anything. No. I don't understand that. I know the coaches, the ones voting on, they know more than I do, but I just find that weird. So,
Maybe they just felt bad for him.
Could be the case.
Maybe they want to keep him there, so they keep sucking.
Also could be the case. All right, now we have the 6 other conferences that are outside of the power conference. I picked one player for these, and I don't think we have to talk too much about these guys because let's be honest, the casual fan's not going to be watching.
Who really cares, right?
Exactly. Yeah. American Athletic.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another team besides Houston in the American Athletic, so I picked 2 guys from there. Marcus Sasser averaged 17.5 a game, 2.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists. I'm going to throw this out there right now. Houston will be a Final Four team. And can you believe that Illinois had to play them in the second round, and now they're number 1 in the nation? So,
let's also throw this out there. Houston probably would have been in the Final Four last season if Sasser was healthy. So
true.
That's another factor. Yeah. And they were really good. I mean, Kelvin Sampson, Jesus. I mean, they're even better every single season. They were in the Final Four 2 years ago.
Kelvin Sampson's good at cheating, right? I mean,
I don't know if he's really doing it anymore, but
and then my freshman, I picked Jarris Walker. He's literally the only 5-star that went to the AAC this year.
It's kind of surprising.
They say that he does it all from the power forward position at 6'8", 220. He can score, he can rebound, and he can pass. So that is my 2 guys to look out for.
I'll venture over to the Penny Hardaway territory, who just got an extension. Huge congrats. Penny knows we're such big fans of his.
Yeah. When did he get extended, like 2043 or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I'm going with Kendrick Davis. Kendrick Davis, transfer from SMU. Big-time scorer there last season, staying in conference, going to a school that's got a better chance to make the tournament than SMU. But there's some sleeper teams in this conference. I think it's a little bit more similar to the West Coast Conference this season in the fact that there's a couple teams there that have a chance to be in the tournament. And, give Memphis props. They were pretty good against Gonzaga in the second round last year. So, despite the fact that Emoni Bates, who was supposed to be their big-time best player, was did absolutely nothing for the entire season. So I don't like Memphis. I don't really care for Hardaway that much, but you gotta give him some credit here and there, and I'll give him credit for that, whatever. West Coast Conference.
West Coast Conference, I picked Malachi Smith of Gonzaga. If you are an Illinois fan, you'll remember him from Chattanooga. Yep. Dude averaged 20 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, and 3 assists. If you are an Illinois fan, you'll remember that Illinois held him for 4 of 20 shooting. So I'm interested to see how his game transfers over to the West Coast Conference, and how much he'll add to guys like Bolton and Strother and Salas. See how much time he gets, because he's not going to have to be that guy going to Gonzaga. And then I couldn't find a freshman that went to the West Coast Conference. I think Gonzaga got a 3-star from Illinois, Brendan Hall or something, I believe.
Sure.
So I went with Tyler Robinson of Portland. This dude is 6'6", 225. He looks like me and you. And he averaged 15 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. So look this kid up. He looks like a ball player.
I mean, never heard of him.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
You don't have to. I'm
It's a
just saying.
whatever. It's a new era in San Francisco basketball with Todd Golden out the door. They got Chris Gerlofson in there, and they still have that same player. I mean, last season they lost the dude's name that I can't remember. He was a really good guard. Jesus, why did I forget his name? But they lost him. I'm gonna figure out his name here in like 6 seconds. So 6'5", 4'3".
Look at this kid.
Yeah, he looks
Ball
like he went
player.
to high school where
Ball
I
player.
did.
So.
Jamari Bouye is who I was thinking of. So they lost him, but Khalil Shabazz is back. Khalil Shabazz is my guy. 27 points. 27 points against Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference tournament. 27 points. Now, struggled against Murray State in the tournament. Went 1 for 10 with 3 points. But I digress. He's a veteran guard. He's going to be someone that they rely on a lot. San Francisco is not going to be what they were last season, but the fact remains that Shabazz is going to have a huge role here, and it'll be interesting to see how good he is with Golden gone. Atlantic 10.
I picked Javonte Perkins from St. Louis. Of course, he got hurt last year, correct?
Was that him? Yeah, I think so.
But he did average 17 points the year before. And I think that when he went down, they took the sails out of Slew's parachute or whatever. That doesn't make any sense. Just rambling at this point.
Keep going.
I'm just excited to see him. St. Louis ended up going to the NIT last year. I think with him back, they got a really good chance to make the tournament, as they should. So excited to see him come back. And then for my freshman, I picked Mike Sharavamps. I don't know. He's 6'7", small forward, 180 pounds. He's from Mongolia. So the Mongolian master or something, they call him that. Or I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Watch some video on him. He's pretty smooth around the hoop. He's definitely not very big. I don't know how much he'll play, but he seems like one of those very high IQ players. He can kind of read where the ball is going off the rim, and he finds positions to get rebounds and to get to the basket. So, go check out Mike Sharavamps.
Check him out.
It's and if you want to spell it, guys, it's Sharavamts. Sharavamps.
Boom. All right. I'm going Foster Lawyer, Davidson, big time shooter. Though it might not be a great season for Davidson this year, but he's a good shooter. So there you go. On to the next. Missouri Valley.
Missouri Valley. I got Roman Penn of Drake. He averaged 11 points per game, shot 44%.
His 8th season there.
3.9 assists per game. And then the freshman, I have Cade Hornick. There's a lot of quality freshmen coming into the Missouri Valley Conference. So I went with Cade Hornick. He's 7 foot, 210 pounds. He was the number 34 center nationally. I think that he needs to put some muscle on, but he does play in the Missouri Valley Conference. So how much do you really need to put on? So, yeah, good luck, Cade.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but good luck. Yeah. Where does he go?
He goes to SIU, Carbondale, not Edwardsville.
I thought you were going to pick that kid from Bradley.
Must have missed him.
Rink Most.
Oh, that's a sweet name.
He's actually hurt for like the first couple months, but either way, good luck to Bradley. I'm going Kobe King from Valpo. He scores points, so he's got that going. Let's go ahead.
Points are good.
Mountain West.
Mountain West, I went with Graham Ike of Wyoming. Dude,
I don't think that's how you pronounce it, but that's fine. I also don't know how to pronounce it either, but I don't think
it's you pronounce it? Icky?
I think it's like EK or something. I'm telling you.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Anyways, it should be Ike. It's IKE, folks. All right. Average 20 points a game, 10 rebounds. He's a junior this year, and I think that he's going to lead Wyoming to a MWC championship. The freshman I picked was Sidraki Ngage.
What are you just picking names?
No. He's 6'9", 205 pounds. He plays the power forward. He has incredible touch for his size, and he has a quick first step and likes to finish strong at the hoop. He held offers from Arizona, Alabama, Auburn, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and he said, "Screw you all, I'm going to Boise State." All right.
Well, he probably wanted playing time.
Sidraku Ngange.
He probably wanted to play.
Sure.
If I had to throw a wild guess out there. But you never know. All right, I'm going. What are we in the Mountain West? Here's a familiar name for you if you're from the Big Ten. How about Jamal Mashburn Jr., New Mexico, playing for Patino still. And he was good in the Big Ten for his freshman year. So this is his second year at New Mexico. So good luck to him. Conference USA, where I think there's only one player to even think about, and that's it. But whatever.
I got Davian McKnight of Western Kentucky, who averaged 16 points and 5.68 assists. 5.68? I don't know. I think I had to do the math myself because it said that he had 129 assists in 29 games or something weird. And then the freshman, I picked Brennan Laurent of FAU. He was the only 3-star that went to the Conference USA. So 6'8" power forward.
There you go.
Kind of got sloppy towards the end, guys. All right.
Yeah, we all do it. I'm just not even. I've given up on this section. I'm gonna go Jelly Walker, who's the only player worth watching. Dynamic guard, do it all guy for UAB. UAB is gonna win this conference with relative ease, but that's just a different story for a different day. All right, let's do the next thing. I'm going to skip the standings because I didn't feel like doing that this year because what do I know? I mean, let's be honest.
That's true. What do you know?
I'd rather just, keep this one, because we got a scrimmage game in 47 minutes. We got to get going on that with the Illini. All right, we got one overvalued team, one undervalued
45
team.
minutes left? Holy smokes.
No,
hour and a half episode. I told you.
It won't be that long.
Is this considered a podcast or is this just like a show?
I think it's still a podcast.
Okay. All right.
With nobody paying attention, but that's fine. That's how it goes.
How many listens do we get on these things?
More than another thing that I do. All right. One overvalued, one undervalued team per conference. I went a little bit off the charts with a couple of these.
Okay.
And
I thought this was really hard. So
yeah.
I noticed
you base yours off of the media polls. I base mine off of
they're not all off media polls.
Yeah, I know,
dude.
but some of them. I did mine
different polls for each one.
Yeah, that's too much work.
It was basically when I typed it in, it was the first one that came up usually. So
I was looking at various season previews, kind of getting a feel for overall consensus on how people feel about teams. I went off the grid, off the charts, way out there on the ACC alone. So who's your? We'll start under than over. So who's your undervalued team in the ACC?
So I went off the ACC media poll. They had Miami 4, Virginia 3. I would flip-flop them. There you go.
So So you think that?
I think that Miami is going to finish better than Virginia, okay. And then I also think that the ACC is very top-heavy, and then everybody else sucks. So after 4 or 5, who cares?
That's fair.
My opinion.
Yep. My undervalued team is a team that has, not been anywhere near where they probably could be or should be. I'm going to go with Pitt. Okay. Pitt is a team that's been picked to finish, I don't know what they were in the preseason poll for the conference, but, people think 10 to 13 range. I think they're better than that. I think there's a lot of scoring on this team. I think you have a coach in Capel who's in his 5th season there. It's been a complete disaster for a lot of that, losing good players. But I think you got a coach who's playing for his job or coaching for his job a little bit here. And you got a lot of new pieces, some transfers from various spots. And and they didn't lose a ton. I mean, they lost a few players that they needed last season, but I'm going to say Pitt is going to be a little bit better than people think. Like, I don't think they'll be a tournament team, but I think they'll be somewhere in the top 6 or 7 or 8 of the conference rather than outside of the top 10. So I'm going to say Pitt. And then overvalued Florida State. I just don't think that they're the same roster that they've had the last few seasons before last season. I think they're very talented. I think it's going to be a slow start, and we'll see how they progress through the conference. But they finished 8th last season. I think they'll be a little bit better than that, but a lot of people penciled them in for top 3 or 4, maybe 5. But I think they're a little bit overvalued going into the season. So I'll go with your Seminoles. Big Ten.
My Seminoles. I'm wearing a out in the woods shirt.
Well, last season you wore Florida State.
Watching for Cougars in Illinois.
Yeah. Big Ten.
Big Ten. I went with 247 sports rankings. Undervalue. I'm going to go with Ohio State. They had them at 9.
That's like a layup.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is going to be way better than that. And overvalued, I'm going to stick with this until they prove something, because I think that they're going to finish 5th in the Big Ten. I got Indiana because they got them at 1, which is
okay. We'll go a little deeper on Indiana later, but you know, whatever.
Okay.
My undervalued
What'd
team
Geo
is.
Baker say?
I don't listen to what he says, obviously.
Ain't nobody scared of Indiana.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. But I don't think anybody's scared of anybody this year in the Big Ten.
That's true. I agree.
Undervalued, I'm going Wisconsin. I think people are undervaluing how good Tyler Wall can be. And Chucky Hepburn might be the best point guard in the conference just because there's not very many good ones. Like, in terms of known commodities, it's like him and it's Xavier Johnson. And then other than that, you have Jalen Llewellyn, I think is actually his name, who's coming into Michigan from Princeton. So that's an Ivy League guy you're relying on. For Illinois, you don't even really have a real point guard, but if you have one, it's Sky Clark, and he's a freshman coming off of an ACL. So I think if I'm looking at known commodities at the point guard position, and we know how important being a point guard or having a point guard is in college basketball, I think Wisconsin's going to be better than people think. I don't know what they were in the 247 sports thing. I would assume they were probably 6 or 7, maybe 8th.
I think they were 10th, honestly.
Exactly. And I've learned to not – last season taught – if it taught us anything, it's that Fran and guard can win without the best talent. Like Wisconsin and Iowa are probably going to be underrated almost every season, given what they lose each year, especially with what Iowa's lost last 2 years. But
this is really old. Yeah, I was just trying to look for it.
Well, overvalued. I'm going Michigan State. I think what were they?
They got Michigan State 4.
Yeah, that's an overvalue.
Yeah, they have Wisconsin 10.
That's ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as Ohio State 9th, but whatever. Talk about not having your pulse on the conference. That's not even.
You want to know this? So they have Indiana 1, Illinois 2, Michigan 3.
Nothing wrong with that.
Michigan State 4, Zach Edey 5th, Iowa 6th, Maryland 7, Rutgers 8, Ohio State 9, Wisconsin 10.
Yeah, they were off the deep end for a minute there. Yeah. Overvalued, like I said, Michigan State. I think it's the same kind of team that Izzo's had the last couple of years. Just nothing that jumps off the page.
What's Schifino play? Is he not a guard?
Shooting guard.
Gotcha.
I think if he ends up being as good as they say he can be, Indiana's going to be, because Xavier Johnson, as inconsistent as he can be, he is a known commodity at point guard, and you need that, especially with his defense. But
apparently this kid's like the best player ever.
A lot of hype. Big 12.
Big 12. All right. I went with the coaches poll. And I went with Texas is undervalued at 3. I think Texas is going to finish better than that. And TCU overvalued at 4 because I do not have faith. Just because you make a run in the tournament doesn't mean you're going to be good the next year. All right.
I don't think that's the only reason that people think that they'll be good, but I digress.
Sure.
A lot of people think Kansas is going to win the Big 12. I'm just going to say they're a little overvalued. Jalen Wilson's a good player. DeJuan Harris is back. They got a couple freshmen in there. They got Kevin McCullough from Texas Tech. I think Kansas is a little bit overvalued going into the season. They got undervalued. I'm going to say Oklahoma State. A lot of people have them in the 6 or 7 range. I think this is going to be a scrappy team. You get Avery Anderson back. You got Bryce Thompson back. Caleb Boone's back. Musa Cisse, whatever you want to pronounce his name as. You get a transfer, John Michael Wright, who averaged 18 a game at High Point last season, which what does that really mean? But still, he'll play a big role for them, probably starting point guard. So, and I think Boynton's a good coach. I know that they're banned from the postseason, or they were last season, I should say.
Yeah.
But I think Boynton's a good coach, and I think that they'll have a better team than people expect going into the season, which I think the Big 12 is the best conference in the country, but I also think it's very unpredictable because I think people think Kansas is better than they are, and I don't think people realize how good Baylor still is. So there you go. Big East.
I went with the coaches poll on this one. I got Providence as underrated. They got him as 5, and I got Xavier, who apparently you're in love with, is overrated too.
As much as I've
overvalued. Sorry,
same thing. Yeah. As
yeah.
I wanted to be.
I don't know why you PC'd this.
I wanted to be a little careful. As much as I've been a supporter of Dan Hurley the last few years at UConn, I think they're a little bit overvalued, overrated this season. Sonogo is a great player, but I just can't keep buying into the hype with UConn and then being disappointed every year. So I'm going to do that. And then undervalued, I'm going to go St. John's. I don't think that they're going to be a tournament team, but I think they'll be a little bit better than they've been. They're just it's another undisciplined, turning the ball over a lot, but we'll show you a ton of flashes of greatness with Curbelo, and it's just another St. John's team that's pretty much the same every year at this point with Mike Anderson. So I don't know. I feel like there's no reason they shouldn't be making the tournament with a backcourt of Posh Alexander and Andre Curbelo, and Montez Mathis is back, and they get David Jones from DePaul, who is great there. So the starting 5 should be a tournament team, but I still don't think they will be. But either way, I think they're top 5 or 6 in the conference. People would say 8 or 9 probably, but whatever. I'm not going to buy too much into St. John's though, just because I know I'll be as annoyed with them as I am with UConn every year. So the 2 teams that are going to annoy me the most is who I'm going to pick. Pac-12.
The Pac-12, I picked out Sports Illustrated. They had Stanford at 5, so I put them as underrated. They also had them on the bubble. I think Stanford's going to get in, not on the bubble. No worries. And then I picked Arizona, overrated. They lost Ben Mathurin. They lost their center, whoever that guy was. Sorry. Yeah, so I think Arizona's going to be good, but I think that there's a little too much hype from last year, and they don't have all those guys.
I don't know if I agree with that, but that's fair. I mean, they did lose Christian Coloco and Dalen Terry. Dalen Terry was really good in the tournament.
I said Christian Coloco.
Yeah, sure.
Run it back. Watch the VOD.
Their backcourt is good. Like Krisa's back. Courtney Ramey went there.
Who?
Kirk Krisa.
Oh.
He's back. A lot of people think that Pelly Larson's going to have a big jump.
Imagine putting your first name on your jersey.
Don't forget Kylan Boswell as well. He's there.
Does he put Kylan on his jersey?
Probably not. But overvalued, I'm going to go USC. I don't love them. I don't think they'll finish in the top 4. So if Tony Patelis is watching this, I hope he looks away because I know he loves USC. Please look away.
Yeah. Tony, we know you watch. Please look
definitely. I don't know. I don't love this team. They don't have a Mobley to fall back on like they have the last 3 years. So
it's true.
And then if I'm not picking Dan Hurley, why not go with Bobby Hurley's team? Arizona State, the king of complete underachieving teams the last few years. But Desmond, Cambridge, Nevada, coming in. Warren Washington, 7-footer, Nevada. into the fold. Devin Cambridge, Auburn, boom. Frankie Collins, Michigan. A lot of transfers on this team. They bring back Marcus Bagley, who's a huge talent but hasn't been healthy. They bring back DJ Horn. This team's probably going to take a little bit to get going, but I think there's a lot of talent here, and I think this is a year where there's like no expectations for them. They'll be better than people expect. Enoch Boyake is also there. Don't forget that name. Luther Muhammad as well. So, yeah, I like the talent here. I think Bobby Hurley's probably thinking, I don't know if I'll get fired if we're bad, but I should probably try to be good because this is my 8th season. So you would hope that he would figure it out. But there's a lot of talent here, and I like them. SEC.
SEC, I went with 247. They have Kentucky at 2. I think Kentucky's winning the SEC. Put them at 1. Underrated. And they got Arkansas at 3. Too many freshmen in the kitchen, I think is the saying.
And you're going against the Must Bus. That's just
I know. I had to pick something.
Here's an easy overvalued pick for you. Auburn. Auburn is the SEC's version of St. John's. Like Wendell Green having the ball now without a Jabari Smith to throw to, they're going to turn the ball over a lot. Okay. And I don't think that they're going to be quite as good as everybody thinks, though they return a lot. Plus they bring in Janai Broom from Morehead State, who's a big time player. So I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be as good as people expect. And Alabama, I think, is a little bit undervalued this season. Nate Oates obviously has done a really, really good job there. I like their roster still. I know it ended poorly last season, but you got to think about, the Quinterly injury really killed him in the tournament last year, but he's back.
True.
They bring in Namari Burnett if he's actually going to play. They have one of the best freshmen after a couple of the Arkansas guys. I think Brandon Miller is one of the best freshmen in the conference. Another guy that could be all SEC first or second team. Plus Mark Sears coming in from Ohio. That's a big transfer. And, I like their team a lot, even though they did lose a lot from last season, whether it was J.D. Davison or Keon Ellis or Jaden Shackelford. Alabama undervalued. American Athletic.
American Athletic, I went with Sports Illustrated on this one also. I picked Cincinnati, who they had at 3. I think that they'll do better than that. And then they had Memphis at 2, and I can't trust anything Penny Hardaway's trying to coach. So get him out of here.
I'm going to go Memphis overvalued as well. Yep, why not? I think the second place team in this conference this season is going to be Tulane. Okay? Tulane. Ron Hunter, 4th season. They're only getting better. They bring back 5 starters to this team. They lost 1 player that averaged more than 5 points per game. They bring in Colin Holloway from Georgetown. They bring in Trey Williams from Oregon State. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. I mean, they have a lot of players returning. Like I said, they finished 5th in the conference last season. Why not finish 2nd? They're going to go 13-5.
Why not?
Houston's going to go 18-0. They're going to finish 2nd.
Is it that easy? Why
They're
not?
going to finish 2nd while being 5 games behind Houston. Memphis is going to disappoint. Cincinnati's going to be decent, but like more of an 11-9 team. There you go. Tulane, big shout out. West Coast Conference.
Also from Sports Illustrated. I put undervalued. I put Portland. My boy Tyler Robinson's going to do things. Portland is not 5. They're a top 3 team in the West Coast Conference. And then overrated, I put BYU. Get them out of here.
Big mistake.
Who cares about them? Never mind.
My undervalued pick is also Portland. And then overvalued, I'm going to go San Francisco. I think it's going to be a step back. As much as I think Khalil Shabazz is a big-time player, a bit of a step back coming, I think, for San Francisco. You lose Todd Golden. He did such a good job there. New program now, new systems with a different coach. And, I just think that it's going to be a bit of a slower year for San Francisco than it was last season. So there you go. Atlantic 10.
Atlantic 10, new team in. This is the coaches poll that I went off of. New team in the Atlantic 10, Loyola Chicago. Currently, they have them at 4th, coaches poll. I think they'll finish better than that. I think they're They're going to play some better teams, but I think they'll be. I think they'll do better than that. And then I got overrated. I have St. Louis. Even though I said that they're going to get to the NCAA tournament, hopefully. Yeah, I overrated. Overrated.
For over, I'm going to go VCU.
How are we doing under first? Why do you keep doing over?
I'm doing it by design, dude. I'm just letting you do. You go under over, I'll go over under. It's very very.
Apparently, I haven't paid attention.
You're finishing over, and then I'm going over right after that. So I'm saying it's brilliant.
That's smart. That's smart. You're good at this.
No, VCU is my overvalued team. Not loving it with VCU this year. Not loving it. I mean, I don't know. They bring in a couple new starters. They get some decent transfers. They get 2 transfers from Michigan. I don't know. I'm not loving it with VCU, though. I don't think that they're going to be as good as people think. And then undervalued, why not go St. Louis? Just because, Pickett coming in from Missouri is a nice get. Nesbitt's gone, which I don't think that's that big of a loss, if we're being honest. Francis Okoro's back. Yuri Collins is back. Javante Perkins being healthy. Gibson Jimerson, who had 16 points per game last season as a freshman, is in the fold. So I think St. Louis will be good and better than people think. Because I think, people would.
2.
Well, I see them as 3 years. So I think they'll finish second.
Right.
And I would flip. This thing says VCU 2, St. Louis 3. I'd flip it. Just like you did with the ACC.
Fair. That's fair.
Missouri Valley.
Missouri Valley. I watch a lot of MVC here in the Midwest. So I got undervalued. I got Belmont. They have who's that guy coming back? Shepherd, I believe. Ben Shepherd. I could have completely just made that up. Nobody's gonna know. But they got Belmont 6 in the media poll. I think they'll finish better than that. And then overrated, they have SIU 3. I think SIU is going to finish worse than that.
Sure.
I don't know.
Overvalued. I'm going to go with Bradley. I think it's going to be a bit of a rough start to the season for Bradley, given that the guy that I said earlier is out, who I got to pull up his name to remember it. Hang on.
Just make names up, dude.
Rink Mast. He's out until December or January. So
it's an awesome name, though.
Yeah, shout out to him. I think they're a little bit overvalued. I think people probably think they'll be maybe second in this conference. I don't think that that's true. And undervalued, I'm also going Belmont. A little bit of disrespect towards the newcomer, I think. Belmont, they'll be good. Ben Shepherd is
that
back.
The first thing we've agreed on?
No, I think we've had a couple.
Oh, okay.
We both had Memphis. Did you have Memphis overvalued?
Yes.
Yeah, so did I. And then we also had
obviously
another one somewhere, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yep. Mountain West.
Mountain West. So I just I took the media poll. I flip-flopped 1 and 2. I think Wyoming is going to win it, and I think San Diego State's going to finish behind them. So Wyoming underrated. San Diego State going to suck this year.
I would be stunned if San Diego State doesn't win this conference.
Be ready to be stunned.
Overvalued. I'm going to go Wyoming. I don't like them as much as last
season. Does San Diego State have a guy named Icky? I don't think so.
It's Ike, I believe, by the way. So, you just want to keep mispronunciation. I'm done with that word.
Mispronunciation.
Yeah, same thing. And then my undervalued squad is going to be Colorado State. Isaiah Stevens back. They bring in Josiah Strong, who had a good season at Illinois State last year. A couple other starters returning. They got Patrick Cartier from Hillsdale College. Shout out. Don't know where that's at, but he averaged 22 a game last year there. So
wow,
he's got that going. They got a lot of bench players returning as well, and a few
basketball.
freshmen coming in as well. Yeah, sure. All right, Conference USA.
Conference USA. I switched 1 and 2 once again because, let's be honest, who cares? I got Western Kentucky winning this and UAB not winning this. So Western Kentucky underrated at 2 and
outrage.
UAB overrated at 1.
I got Middle Tennessee overvalued, North Texas undervalued. Moving along. All right. Conference champs. I think we're gonna have a lot of disagreements with the conference champs. I think this is the most interesting
Really?
part of the show. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we'll have a
Great.
few where you think that I'm an idiot, and I digress.
Well, that's just
ACC.
every day. ACC, I got the team that you hate winning it. John Shire is coming in. Young gun is going to change the culture at Duke. We don't have any more old guys that dye their hair trying to coach young kids. We got a kid that's 30, I don't even know, 22. He's just out of high school, college.
Yeah.
John Shire is going to lead Duke to an ACC championship.
That is
He might even play. He might have. Does he have a COVID year? He might come in and play. Who knows?
That's true. That's true. I'm glad Kay's gone. I have to say that. I think this roster's really talented, but I also agree that people are right in some form to say pump the brakes on North Carolina a little bit, but Pete Nance coming in, I think, changes a lot of that because he's more athletic, probably not as good of a shooter, but maybe a little bit more dynamic overall than Manick was for them last season.
Yeah.
RJ Davis is back. Caleb Love is back. Leaky Black is back. Armando Bacot's back. I don't see how this team doesn't win it. And I think if they don't win, I think it's going to be Virginia. I think Duke, very talented, could make a run in the tournament. They'll make the tournament, no doubt. But I think it's going to be a bit of a slower regular season for them, which it wouldn't be that big of a surprise if it were, because I think a lot of Coach K's teams on the way out were that way. So I think that this is North Carolina's conference to lose. Big Ten, I'm sure we'll agree here.
I threw out the homer card, Illinois. I think the Big Ten's wide open.
Yep.
At least between 5-6 teams, probably. Illinois has the easiest Big Ten schedule. They only play, the top teams once. So they get 2 or 3 of those at home. I don't know. So I got Illinois. I have them figuring out how to play together before the conference starts. They have some tough games against UCLA and then either Baylor or Virginia. Then they play Texas. So I think that they're going to have time to figure it out before the Big Ten starts. And that's what everybody's worried about, right? Does this team gel? And we're going to see tonight when they beat Quincy 180-12.
Probably so. I'm going to buy into the hype with Indiana.
Oh my God. I'm done. I'm done.
They bring back
Get me off the
pretty
show.
much every important player from the team last year. Okay. Where Parker Stewart's gone, that's not that big of a loss. And Rob Fantasy's gone. He was hurt anyway. Xavier Johnson being back is huge. That's a big point guard. And I think a lot of this depends on if Hood Schifino is going to be as good as people say, which I think he can be. And Malik Renaud is another big freshman that they have there as well. Plus, they have those bench glue guys like Tamar Bates or Trey Galloway. And they also have another glue guy in their starting 5. Race Thompson is that type of player. So if Trace Jackson Davis is as good as everybody thinks he is, I don't see how this team doesn't win the regular season. Now,
my thing is, how does Trace Jackson Davis get any better? He can't.
But also,
we've seen the guy peak. All right.
Yeah, this is also year 2 with Woodson. They were really good defensively last season. They played well in the postseason. I mean, I know that they barely beat Wyoming in the first 4, and they did get destroyed by, I think, Richmond or someone like that. It wasn't Richmond. It was St. Mary's, I think, or someone with Navy uniforms. But yeah, why not? I don't think that they're going to be a team that goes deep in the tournament. I would bet that they're the 3rd or 4th team in the Big Ten in terms of how deep they go. I think Michigan could go deeper. I think Illinois could go deeper. I think Wisconsin or Iowa could possibly as well. But I'm going to buy into the hype. I'm going to say Indiana wins the regular season, which doesn't matter. Like, this is a Big Ten regular season that's not going to matter as much.
True.
Because the winner's not going to be a 16-4 team or a 15-5 team. I'm pretty comfortable in thinking that.
Is the team that wins the Big Ten ranked in the top 10 at the end of the season?
No. I think in that article I wrote, I did pick Indiana in that as well, which I have to stay consistent. I think I had them 21-9 or something. So, like, yeah, it's not going to be a team that's like 24-6. who people think Illinois is going to lose 6 games. I mean, come on. Big 12.
I picked Kansas. I know everybody's up on Baylor, but I mean, national champs, Bill Self, Kansas.
That's just another terrible pick. 3 for 3 in disagreements. Wow. Baylor. I mean, Baylor is loaded. Flagler's back. Cryer's back. Keontae George is a big-time freshman. Jalen Bridges comes in from West Virginia, familiar with the conference. Big, lengthy defender. Flo Thamba's back. The big factor is, will Jonathan Tchamwa be healthy enough to play? Probably not. Maybe he'll be back late in the season, but I don't know how big of an impact he'll have. Langston Love's back. He was hurt, didn't get to play last season. They got some other vets back. So I like Baylor a lot. And Scott Drew's as good as it comes when it comes to coaching. I think they're just better than Kansas. I also think that Texas could be better than Kansas. And I think TCU could be better than Kansas. So not too high on Kansas, but I think they'll be fine when the tournament comes around. Big East.
I picked the favorite, Creighton. Is anybody even gonna? I mean, is it even gonna be close?
Villanova is still there. They'll be good.
No, they won't.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
They won't.
Okay, Villanova is still a program that's probably going to be good every year. It's just about how good, because they return Caleb Daniels, they return Brandon Slater, they return Dixon. They have Justin Moore back. I don't know if he'll actually be healthy enough to play for a while, but they'll be fine. They'll still be good, trust me. But
that Villanova offense in the tournament was awful last year.
They were good defensively, though. So
awful.
How about that? It's fair.
And who'd they lose? The guy that scored all the points.
Well, I mean, Daniels and Moore could shoot a little bit. Anyway.
So I have a question. Does Michigan State, who you think is overrated, beat Villanova?
So is that the third hard game for Michigan State?
I think so.
I think it's Gonzaga, Kentucky, then Villanova. I think they can win that game. I don't know. It doesn't, as you always say, those games don't matter.
Heads up, they don't matter. Michigan State's going to be 1-6 according to Izzo.
Probably. Hey, he set the expectations low. He knows what he's doing. That's smart.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been around.
But I also think Xavier is going to be really good too. I don't know why you're so low on them. Like, this is a team that went 8-1
because I don't know anything about them
in the conference last season. Jack Nungy's back. Other 3 starters are back. They have a coach now.
They went what in the conference?
It says 8-1, but I think they had a bunch of COVID games canceled.
Oh, what are you looking at? 2020?
Could have been 8-11, if we're being honest.
Last year wasn't a COVID year.
It had to be 8-11. They went 8-11 in the conference. This is the almanac with a big typo. Big mistake.
It's like Indiana.
Well, they don't have a coach anymore that looks like Murph from Impractical Jokers, so they got that going for them. Sean Miller is there. All right, that's our first agreement. Pac-12 could be one as well.
UCLA.
Yep. Easily the best roster.
Yeah.
Easily the best starting 5. I mean, no doubt.
Tough.
If Bona and Bailey, the 2 freshmen, come in and they can play to a high level, I don't see how this team doesn't cruise to it. I think Oregon and Arizona with a little pushback, but this should be an easy conference title.
Do you think Illinois will be competitive with UCLA in Vegas?
Yeah.
What do you think the spread on that game is going to be?
UCLA minus like 6 or 5.
Okay.
And a half, whereabouts.
I'm betting the Illinois money line.
SEC.
SEC, I picked Kentucky. National Player of the Year coming back.
I've always thought that we ride or die with the Muss Bus.
I'm not on 3 freshmen. Sorry.
I hate doing it, but I'm going to do it.
I love the Muss Bus, and I hope they're good. I can't ride on 3 freshmen.
You talk about a roster with so many guys that have never played together. I mean, it is insane because they're starting 5 projected. Nick Smith, freshman. Anthony Black, freshman. Devontae Davis, solid vet for them last year, only averaged 8 points per game. Jordan Walsh, freshman. Trevon Brazili, who blocked like a ton of shots from Mizzou last year. Transfer, never played with these guys. Yeah. And then their bench, Ricky Council, transfer. Jalen Graham, transfer. Mekhi Mitchell, transfer. Mikel Mitchell transfer.
Did he ever get all those scholarships figured out? They got like 27
I
guys
don't
on
know.
the team still.
I mean, let's just put it this way, okay? They have 1, 2, 3 players on the team last year that played for Arkansas. So a very low number, a lot of roster turnover. But I'm buying into the must bus. If the talent is as good as the talent is supposed to be,
If freshmen don't play like freshmen.
yeah. And I don't think
Right.
that. I think Nick Smith will be
And
fine.
usually
Black
you say
will
that
probably be
about
fine.
Kentucky, but Kentucky's got some experience.
Yeah, I always pick Kentucky, so I wanted to go a little different. And I don't really
like it.
love Kentucky that much. I mean, they do have 2 freshmen that are probably going to start for them, but they also have Sheboy, who's like the best player in the country. So, and they have Severe Wheeler, who's a 5'9" point guard, which I don't like that much. Ty is gone, so you got that. American Athletic, we should spend 1 second on this. Houston by like 10 games. West Coast Conference, 1 second.
Portland.
Okay. Gonzaga.
No, Gonzaga.
Atlantic 10.
I think
Dayton.
I don't think that. Yeah, Dayton. Dayton's loaded.
Missouri Valley.
I picked your team that you said was overrated. Bradley.
I'd love to see it.
Illinois zone.
I'll take Drake, but I would love to see it. A couple of boys' first names. Drake and Bradley. How about that?
That's true.
You're looking to name if you're having a kid.
I mean, there's probably kids named Kentucky and Houston too. So
I don't know about that. Mountain West.
I think everybody knows this because I already said it earlier. I got Wyoming winning the Mountain West, and I got Western Kentucky winning the Conference USA.
Well, we're just going to have to disagree on both. San Diego State is the best team in this conference. Matt Bradley's in his 10th season there. They got Mensa back. They got Lamont Butler back. They bring in Darian Trammell, who averaged 17 a game last season at Seattle, which what does that really mean? But you're also in the Mountain West, so who cares? This is a really good roster for San Diego State. I think that they'll win it. And then in Conference USA, how could you not pick Jelly Walker and UAB? I mean, that's just a layup for me. If Jelly Walker's on the team, I'm picking them. It's very simple.
There's no way his name's really Jelly.
It's Jordan Walker, but we all call him Jelly.
Yeah. We all. me and my boys call him Jelly. I got
That's right. All right. Top storylines, preseason All-Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Timme, Gonzaga. Oscar Tshiebwe, Kentucky.
Yep.
Trace Jackson Davis, Indiana, which I think Hunter Dickinson's more deserving, but whatever.
I think
Hunter Dickinson thinks that too.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
There's one guard.
He's too busy tweeting about crappy Chipotle, so I don't know.
Okay. Marcus Sasser, Houston, the only guard on the list.
The only guard. We got one guy bringing the ball.
Armando Bacot. So positions still don't matter. New coaches in the Power 6 in the ACC this year. John Shire at Duke with Coach K still coaching from behind the scenes. And then Kenny Payne at Louisville. I think it'll take a couple years for Louisville to get back to where they could be or were.
Kenny Payne, huh?
Yep.
I didn't know he got hired.
Okay.
That's No, that's not who I'm thinking of.
Kenny Payne was an assistant for the Knicks and was at Kentucky and all that.
Okay. That's
Big
not
Ten.
who I thought it was. Never mind.
Kevin Willard. Big
Who
Ten.
am I thinking of?
ESPN guy, Kenny Mayne.
Maybe.
Yeah. Kevin Willard. I think Kevin Willard's going to have a really good team in a couple years. That's another team, Maryland, where it's just a ton of new players. And you're relying on guys that played in the Big East, but for terrible teams like Donald Carey.
He came from where?
Seton Hall? What?
Okay.
What are you, high?
It's been a year.
Okay. Well, remember Shaheen Holloway replaced him?
I do things other than just look at my computer in NCAA basketball, all right?
Well, I look at hockey, too, and some other sports
I know,
as well.
You're watching hockey right now. Everybody knows.
It's right there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You keep looking up at it like we're not doing a podcast.
Well, I got NBA game here, World Series. All right, we got like 10 minutes.
World Series starts tonight, huh?
Yeah, I literally don't
Phillies
care about
in
World
6.
Series
Is that what you picked? Economic downfall.
That's true. That does happen
Thank
every
you
time
for
the
that.
Phillies do anything.
Thanks.
Jerome Tang in the Big 12.
To worry about.
Right. Jerome Tang in the Big 12, Kansas State. So he came from Baylor. We'll see how that goes. Pac-12, no new coaches.
Bruce Weber, sad.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
Holy smokes, SEC.
The SEC has like 20 coaches. Mike White went from Florida to Georgia. Dennis Gates, who thinks there should be 700 teams in the tournament, went from Cleveland State to
One
Missouri.
idiot. One idiot.
Matt McMahon went from Murray State to LSU. Todd Golden from San Francisco to Florida. Lamont Paris from Chattanooga to South Carolina. Chris
Good for him.
Jans to Mississippi State. Don't remember where he came from. Yeah, big time. I think the most successful coach right off the bat in this conference will probably be Todd Golden at Florida. But I wouldn't be surprised if Matt McMahon has a good team since it's Murray State from last season at LSU.
Chris Jans.
And Adam Miller. Don't forget, Adam Miller is back.
Chris Jans was at New Mexico State.
I could have gotten that if you gave me like 3 hours.
He was an assistant at Illinois State in 2004 before you were born. So
that's not before I was born, but whatever. Big East, Sean Miller, Xavier, a guy that I used to hate. I'm kind of back in on Sean
now
Miller.
you love him, huh?
After watching him last year as an analyst, I think he did a good job. He's not at a school that I have to worry about now, where Illinois would play Arizona a lot, and it would be like really annoying. Sean Miller. Shaheen Holloway goes from St. Peter's to Seton Hall. Interested to see how that works out. How about this? Thad Matta back. He's at Butler. Can't be any worse than Laval Jordan.
Are you shocked by Thad Matta coming back to coach?
I think I'm shocked more at he's nowhere near as old as I thought he was, would be the more shocking thing.
Fair.
He's like 50.
Really?
50. He's in his 50s. I thought he'd be in his 60s. Let me double check just to make sure I'm not, speaking out of turn here. He's 55. I mean, does he not look like 65? I think he had some health issues that probably drove him away from Ohio State. But anyway.
Yeah, that's rude. You can't say stuff like that.
Sorry.
Man, this guy looks old. Didn't he quit coaching because he was –
whatever.
Hey, he's from Hoopston.
Yep.
He's an Illinois boy.
Kyle Neptune goes from Fordham to Villanova. I think he was at Fordham for 1 year. And I'm interested to see Jay Wright as an analyst. That'll be
how
fun.
long was he coaching with Jay Wright?
A few years, yeah, definitely. I don't. You think I know that?
I mean, I love that name.
Neptune, yeah.
Neptune.
He's only 37, so.
Oh, he's a youngin', huh?
He was a video coordinator in 2008.
He's been at Villanova since 2013.
But he started there in 2008 as a video coordinator and was on staff in 2009, but then he went to Niagara for 3 seasons, then back to Villanova.
Nope.
Wrong. So he's pretty much like Brad Underwood, or he's pretty much like Tim Anderson to Brad Underwood.
You're wrong. 2010 to 2013, he was at Niagara.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 2013 to 2021, he was at Villanova as an assistant. And then last year, he coached at Fordham. So he wasn't even in the squad, bro.
But he was on the staff for 2 national championship teams. Plus, he was at Villanova in 2008, in 2009, and 2010, and they went to the Final Four in 2009. And he went 16-16 at Fordham last year. Fordham, that's not a good team.
On March 30th, 2021, Neptune was named the head coach of Fordham. Neptune would only serve 1 season and then came to Villanova in 2022. What do you think his record was at Fordham?
16-16. I already knew that. But think about this for Fordham. Before he got there, they had a 9-win season, a 12-win season, a 9-win season, and a 2-win season in the COVID year. And then another year after that, they go 16-16 with him. So that's a team that Villanova, we're going to see how he does. I think he'll be fine. I'm not sure how fine he'll be. But I really want to get out of here so we can watch the Illinois scrimmage. So, or exhibition game, I should say. Yeah, we'll see everybody in probably January for a midseason, and then we'll be back to the normal countdown to March Madness at the end of February. This has been great. National champion right now, go.
Oh, man.
Houston is my pick. Houston.
No, I think Houston gets to the Final Four. I think North Carolina. I'm going with North Carolina. And once you said their roster, I'm like, nobody's beating them.
But also, let's think about how bad they were before the tournament.
That's true. They were bad all season, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and then when they beat Duke and ruined Coach K's final game at Cameron Indoor, and then they ruined Coach K. North Carolina has my respect for the rest of the time.
North Carolina was that team last year, right? That everybody picked to win the national title, right? Is it because the year before they made a run, right? And then North Carolina was like number 1 coming into last season.
I don't
Or am I
remember.
crazy?
I think they lost. I don't even think they made the tournament in Roy Williams last year, did they?
I don't know. AP.
Well, everybody thought Caleb Love would be a lot better than he was. He was just really inconsistent, and he's back again. You would have thought he'd be in the NBA by now, but RJ Davis was really their big guard. They went 18-11. They lost in the first round in Roy Williams last year. Let's just put it this way. They ended Coach K's career in the Final Four, and they ended his last game at Cameron Indoor with a win. So that's just that's legendary stuff.
Well, I guess I'm just crazy. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think you are. Anyway, so you have North Carolina winning it all. I have Houston. I'll say Houston beats
North
Gonzaga.
Carolina wasn't even ranked in the preseason. Oh, 19th. Okay. Yeah. I'll shut up now.
I'm going to say Houston beats Gonzaga. So another national title loss for Gonzaga. And my Final Four, I'll just on the spot, Houston, Gonzaga, Arkansas, Illinois. All right. We'll see everybody in January, but also check out the Illini Basketball Podcast all season long. If you hate Illinois or you love Illinois, come on down. All right, see ya.
ILL. I know you're